Almost.
I'm transitioning.
You give the word.
We're live.
Hey, thanks for coming to our happy hour huddle. This is episode 15, Solving Issues Once and for All. Through the first 14 episodes, we've discussed some excellent topics, really had some great guests, friends who are partners, partners who are friends, friends, partners who are also like family, and it's going to keep being like that most weeks. Why? Because we've got a lot of smart, interesting, fun friends and partners who hold cool positions. This week is really no different at all, other than we're taking it up to an extremely high level. Before I formally introduce this week's guest, let's quickly meet tonight's team from Mean Joe Advertising. Stephanie Keogh, Anthony Taylor, DJ Renob, Mike Bloomstein, and the newest member of Team Mean Joe, not joined yet, Jimmy White. Maybe he'll progress, but it is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest. We met very briefly last summer, and then late last year, we met to talk about our partnership. Initially, he had some questions about the value we bring to the table, whether or not there were reasons to continue our partnership. Then, on the day that the 2020 advertising and marketing campaign kicked off, we began working from home. 2 days later, many businesses shut down, and everyone started using words and phrases like unprecedented, uncertain, and we're all in this together. Not us, just other people. This expedited our relationship and partnership as we spent much time on FaceTime calls, Google Hangouts, strategizing, bobbing, weaving, hustling, adjusting, pretty much laying it all on the line. We have the utmost respect for him, for his leadership skills, his decision-making, his guts and poise under pressure, proactivity and drive, and his uncanny ability to make sure that meetings end at no more than 1 hour. Adam Hood is a Barberton native, a proud graduate of the University of Mount Union, and is now the president of Ohio's #1 source for top quality power washing, pressure washing, and exterior property restoration services, our partner, Perfect Power Wash. Adam is the driving force behind this phenomenal 20-year-old company's dedication to always going above and beyond to ensure clients receive the best service possible every single time. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Todd, quite the intro. Wasn't expecting that, but I really appreciate you guys inviting me here today, and hopefully you can have some fun together and learn a lot.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Before we get started, we want to thank those that took the time to submit questions. If you have any questions while we're going, just drop them in the chat below, and we will answer them as we see them. Also, say hi in the chat so we know who's here. We'll say hi back. Speaking of those who are here, many of you watching are not subscribers. So if you're here and watching us, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. And now, maybe not everyone's favorite part, but my favorite part of the huddle, the happy hour part. Let's go around the horn and see what everybody is drinking. I will start with Stephanie.
So tonight I'm going to finish off the very last. Pour into the glass of the smoking whiskey from Cleveland Whiskey.
Very nice, very nice. Anthony?
I am back to the bottle of Cleveland bourbon whiskey.
Nice. Mike?
Just a good old-fashioned BL smoothie. Or 2 or 3. Or 4.
Awesome. I got a little Basil Hayden dark rye over here in a special little rocks glass that I have this week. And last but not least, Adam.
Yeah, so based on those introductions, I don't want to let anybody down right off the bat, but I'm going with Body Armor, right? I was trying to think of how this can represent leadership in our podcast today. I mean, ultimately, it's still early for us here. We want to keep a clear mind for all of our teammates and get ready to get after it.
Love it. Well, good to see everybody. Good to be here.
Cheers.
All right, so Adam, let's if we kick it off like this, like I'll run for everybody.
Yeah, so it's gonna be tough to top that introduction, but again, Adam Hood originated from Barberton, Ohio, a graduate of Mount Union, the University of Mount Union. Three-sport athlete most of my life: baseball, football, basketball. I would say baseball was the severe passion, but had to stay busy all year as well, training and conditioning. At Mount Union, I held a president of about 12 different student organizations, including the student body president, which is where I really started to cut my teeth as far as leadership is concerned. After graduating, I spent some time in New York City working for a media company, transitioned over to B2B sales for a company called Verizon Wireless. I'm sure you've heard of them. And I was working in Pittsburgh for some time and then came back to beautiful Northeast Ohio to where 5 years ago transitioned from B2B sales and a Fortune 15 corporate company to a medium-sized business called Perfect Power Wash that was in its 16th-year business at the time, and it's the best decision I've ever made. So, really bet on myself and bet on the foundation or leadership skills of Mike Glubiak, the owner and founder, and it's been a journey and a great journey so far, and it's looking up and trending up every single day.
Awesome. All right, so our topic today is called solving issues once and for all. Something that we hear you say all the time, and I think we'll get a little bit to what that really means. But first, just some kind of general and specific questions about leadership, things that I think would be a invaluable resource for anybody who aspires to be a leader, who is a leader and is looking for some help, and just some general and specific questions here, and no particular order of importance either. Just a bunch of questions. Tell us, when it comes to leadership, who is it that you look up to for inspiration or mentorship, or maybe who did you and now who do you? However you would answer that best.
Yeah, so first and foremost, like I said, when I came into the Perfect Power Wash world, Mike Glubiak, the owner, he's somebody that I look to ultimately, not only as a boss, but as a mentor. He's a great entrepreneur, has a great mind as far as that's concerned, and ultimately knows how to take something from nothing and make it truly something and continue to push forward and want more. From that standpoint, I think that we can look to not only the big names of leadership, whether it be sports, like your direct reports, whether that's a custodian in the building you walk into, or the next CEO that you run into. I think everybody has some type of character that really plays a role in leadership, and understanding that at a foundational level is extremely important.
Nice. These are going to seem like where on earth are these all coming from, but they're all
rapid fire.
How do you keep your team motivated despite conflicts and obstacles?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. The biggest thing that I try to strive for is healthy conflict. Healthy conflict is one of the foundational principles of just an overall healthy team and a healthy company. You want to start with trust, to where you can bring and be open, honest, and vulnerable with your team, because issues are just opportunities. Issues you should strive to look for in every situation. And when people have differing viewpoints or different perspectives, it's going to cause conflict. And I like to call that healthy conflict, where when you have trust and you can be open, honest, and vulnerable, that conflict is where the iron sharpens the iron, and you look for true solutions to the problem in which the business is facing. Issues are just barriers helping you go from good to great. So looking forward to every single issue that anybody in the organization brings. And then conflict and challenges in the business are what keep us here. If anything worth doing is always a little bit challenging, right? Nothing worth doing was ever easy. So
like, that answer said so many things, and a lot of it are not necessarily like cliches, like we throw around buzzwords and we have to put quarters in a thing here, but business philosophy type of statements within that answer right there. Where do you get that stuff that is like such a part of who you are, that you just rattle it off kind of like that?
Again, I go back to my original answer when you talked about who I'm looking at for leadership. It's everybody and everywhere. And if you can pick, one thing or one line or one strategy from every book you read, from every person you encounter, from every leader that you get to shake hands with, or during the pandemic fist bump, that's where, I personally pick these things up. But I believe that listening is extremely important when it comes to that, and then putting those things into practice. I mean, there's thousands of books, leadership, management, conflict, but ultimately, when you take a step back, you listen to your fellow employees, you listen to your coworkers, you listen to your family and your personal realm, you can find out exactly, what you're looking for out of all of that. So it's a long way to answer. It's everything you encounter, you should be looking for another nugget of information that you can use in practice.
Awesome. I was kind of saying, I'm jumping right into it right now. EOS. I mean, we're not here to like peddle products or necessarily, although we will talk about Perfect Power Wash at the end a little bit. But not that we want to just sell somebody else's books or products, but talk about EOS, and you can even say what it is and how that guides some of the principles and the path. Yeah.
So EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System. It's based on a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. Essentially what it is at the core is a language and a system that everybody in an organization can get around and really learn the language to speak with each other. That's really the core of what that is. It consists of lots of different principles, from how to run meetings, certain agendas, and rules and regulations. But whether it's EOS or just understanding that, structure in what you do every single day will continue to let you win the day, win the week, win the month, win the year. For us personally, and it's truly not for everybody, but for us, it just worked well at the time in which we adapted at EOS. It has proven to work really well. But overall, with any type of business, any type of team, it's about structure. It's about language and understanding both the vision, where you want to go, how you're going to get there. And EOS calls that traction. And I truly believe that that's important because, as they say actually in that book, vision without traction. So, thinking of where you want to go, but not knowing how to get there is just a hallucination. And then just traction without vision, you're basically just spinning tires. You're doing a bunch of stuff, which is great. You're working hard, but you're not working smart. You're not working to an end goal. So, really sitting down, understanding, hey, where do we want to be in 10 years? Where do we want to be to the point to where we're willing to put our career on the line, so to speak, and our word as leaders saying, hey, think really big, appeal all that all the way back to what do I have to do today to work towards that. So again, EOS at the core is that system, it's that language. However, I truly believe that you can use principles from EOS or any type of management system as long as everybody's speaking that language and being set up for success.
So if somebody were watching and thinking, oh my God, that's me, I have this vision, but I have no traction, or oh my God, all I have is traction, I have no vision, that totally resonated with me. Like, what should they do?
So the easy answer for me would be you would have a to-do, right? Day action item. That's the language in which we use. Your to-do would be, I would say, hey, read Traction, see what you think, watch a couple of videos. EOS Worldwide is a really good resource for that. But ultimately, I would say just, everything outside of that is just sit down on a whiteboard. And if you're missing that vision, if you're an owner, a founder, a leadership team, whatever it may be, but get in a room together, set the precedence that we're going to be open, honest, and vulnerable. Let's get on the same page. And where do we want to be? Start there, because you got to know where you're going before you figure out how to get there. I think if you sit down and say, what is our 10-year plan and what does it look like? Not just revenue or profit. Those are certainly extremely important, but what does it visually look like? And then start working backwards from there.
Right. I just came from a meeting today where my to-do was to actually do that. I actually downloaded the maybe December and and tried to do it on an airplane and fell asleep. But not because the book was boring, but just because I was tired. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go old school and get the book and do it. So
yeah, hit it from a couple different angles with some videos. A big principle that I like to use in management and leadership is you have to hear something 7 times before you hear it for the first time, right? And that's true even, and I'm sure you can attest as a parent. Keep listening, and you're going to pick things up that just hit hard home that you're like, I have to use this tomorrow. Let's go.
As a parent, it's like 3 times 7. Maybe more. I don't know if we've reached there yet. But.
Mileage may vary.
So, Adam, not to go too far off script here, but I think something that impresses me with the way that your management style kind of gets rolled down and the way that you guys implement EOS is the buy-in that you get from the entire organization, not just from the leadership level. And I think it cascades down, but as far as implementing, whether it's EOS or any other type of management system, what are some things that you've done or seen that help roll that out throughout the entire business?
Honestly, when you start talking about that vision and that 10-year plan, I think that most people who are career-centric really want to know where the leadership team is going, and that it starts to excite people, right? And when you're talking about those big, hairy, audacious goals, that's where people are like, yes, this is the type of organization I want to be a part of, right? And then you start talking about core values aren't just, pulled out of thin air, or this is something we aspire to be. They are truly at the core of who we are. It starts really perking some ears, and you get buy-in that way. As far as getting everybody to run a meeting and making it start on time and end on time, that just takes accountability. It takes practice. It takes certainly some patience. But I'm a firm believer that you get what you talk about most, right? Whether that's, hey, I need this certain metric, this certain KPI, or hey, we need to structure, restructure, or whatever it may be. So continuing to talk about it and learning it as a leader from a mastery level to where you can teach it and be able to answer and ask questions in the right manner. And again, open to that healthy conflict because you have trust with your team, then that makes it somewhat easy. Now, when I say easy, there's certainly challenge. It takes time. But I know if you do those things right and you let everybody know in on that not the thing that's not a secret anymore of where we're going, that you'll have the buy-in that you need to make it happen.
Kind of relating to, it's funny that you said the secret, but I mean, a lot of this is using language and
yes.
and positive language. Kind of how the secret works is, stop thinking negatively and start twist it into a positive. We kind of do that where we don't have clients, we have partners. And it kind of makes you think like, oh, all right, yeah, we're working together. Right? It's not someone just coming at me and sending me emails. Can you talk about what a positive energy and what words do to create that positive energy?
The secret, power of positive thought, those are all, great tools. Even those can be used as leadership tools. Again, you get what you talk about most. If you're going to talk about conflict, you're going to talk about negative things, then, expect more negative things to come because you're teaching those around you to find those negative things and bring them to you in a negative way, in my personal opinion. Yeah. However, if you twist it on its head and say issues are actually good, I want issues, let's solve them, and you'll hear it once and for all, and that's the goal, then in a way that's being really positive. You can bring something to me that is truly a business barrier, and it is holding multiple individuals or even the business back, and it can be scary and it can be challenging. But when you say, hey, let's solve this together because what's good for you is good for me is good for the business, that takes it from a scary, piece that's anxiety ridden to, a problem solving session that everybody really gets around. That's one great thing that I love about Mean Joe advertising is that it is a lot like that, right? Where we are in this together. When I call Todd or Anthony, it's, hey, you know the challenges I'm facing. I want to make you aware of it because we're open, honest, and vulnerable with each other. How can we solve this together? And it's been working extremely well, especially during these challenging times. And we continue to be positive because that's how we continue to push forward.
Yeah.
Well, and doesn't that just tie in then with getting the rest of your team to buy in? Because you've made them active participants in solving an issue and moving forward together. So now you guys really are a team working together.
You're absolutely right, Stephanie. You know, that's one thing that I didn't mention through all of that is that when you're talking about that vision and where you're going and how you're going to get there, it's equally, if not more important for everybody to know what role in which they play on that. You know, in a sports team, it's really easy, right? You're a receiver. Here are the routes you run. You know what's going to happen. But just like a sports team, if your left tackle takes a play off and misses the block, everybody else on the team can do everything perfect, but the play is completely blown up. So yeah, as long as everybody buys in, go there together, and they deserve it there because we have to play the role on the team the right way.
I'm just kidding.
Overselling it.
Masterclass. All right, I'm going back to some of these general / specific questions, but you've kind of answered them in this great way of buy-in in the team and keeping them informed and having them be part of the vision. But how do you generate great ideas in the organization?
You ask and you make those great ideas, you know, visible. You celebrate great ideas. You don't take credit as a leader for every idea as if it was yours. You use language like ours and we rather than me and mine, and you embrace those. That's what happens when you embrace issues, right? And my first question is, how would you solve that? You know, there's a lot of management books where they say, hey, when you bring your monkeys, you know, as a manager, people are going to bring your monkeys into your office, help them solve the issue, and make them take the monkey back out of the office when they leave. If not, at the end of the day, you're going to have monkeys jumping all over your office. But when you solve the problem together or get people from different departments or, you know, just anybody random and ask them what they think, and they're embraced and they feel a part of that and their eyes light up just because you're grabbing them for this, that's how you get great ideas. And then you also can't be scared as a leader to look foolish or, you know, not, you know, perfect across the board to say, hey, this isn't my strong suit, but it is yours. You know, for my organization, you know, we're the country's biggest power washing company. You know, we've done over 100,000 jobs. Me personally, as a leader in the organization, I've never washed a home. You know, and that's something that I embrace because that makes me rely on the experts in that field. And it makes it to where it's not, I know what's going on here. It's, hey, tell me what the challenges are. And I can understand them that way from a different perspective.
Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. With your background of the job in New York media and then that small company you mentioned, Verizon.
Yeah.
How did the experiences that you had there transfer, mostly B2B, to the role that you're currently in?
Oh man, I feel like I keep going back to that first answer. It's just like every single day, every little moment gives you an opportunity to like grasp another grain of sand of experience and challenges. You know. There's the old saying that you never lose because in defeat you always find something, you know, that you can win from. From a B2B, just a sales standpoint, it was solution-based sales. Because of my marketing degree and background, there's always people have a problem and there needs to be a solution for that, right? And without that, it's just pushy sales tactics or whatever you may call it. And as we move into the year 2020 and beyond, that's becoming even more evident, right? It's you have to be able to bridge that gap between the problem that a consumer is facing and the solution, and making sure that the customer understands why this is the solution to their problem and how in which they can get there. Oh, by the way, let's make it as painless and easy as possible. Hope that answered that one correctly.
Well, there's no right answer. There's just your answer, but I thought that was a great answer. So earlier I was about to ask it, but we went on a little bit of a different path. But you've definitely taken some risks in your career. I assume, possibly even, leaving your previous job. But what's the most important risk you took, and why?
Ooh, yeah, we take risks every day, right? I mean, that's the case there. As far as professionally, I would certainly say transitioning from a Fortune 15 company to a power washing company from somebody else's perspective. Even when I told some of my college buddies or some of my other mentors that I speak to, you kind of get looked at with a side eye, right? Why would I leave a great company with tremendous benefits to take a tremendous risk, right? When it comes down to it. Luckily, at the age and where I was at in my career, I was willing and able to bet on myself, and I'm certainly glad that I did. One way or the other, whether it worked out or not, I think it's extremely important to follow your intuition and your gut as a leader, and that can also be true in your personal and professional career as well. But saying, hey, I've been working hard to take a risk, a calculated risk, of course, and that's the biggest thing for me was, hey, bet on myself, and you can't go wrong either way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there excuse me? Is there a decision that you wish you didn't make?
That would go against one of my philosophies from a couple minutes ago, that every decision you make, you learn from one way or the other, and you move on and learn. I honestly, I know it sounds so cliche, but I don't think so. I really don't. Because every decision, every failure, every win has brought me to this moment, even with you guys. And at this point, I wouldn't change a thing. It's easy to say, oh, yeah, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have run this ad 2 weeks ago. But now I have the knowledge and the experience to know how to make that decision in the future. And you have to have those. It strengthens you as an individual and as a leader.
Well, I think, we've talked a couple times about parenting strategies, and that right there is an excellent parenting strategy, right? You're going to, sometimes if you prevent your kids from making mistakes, they never learn anything, and they're going to keep repeating that same mistake. Same thing applies in business.
Yep.
If you play it so safe you don't ever make a mistake, then you're probably going to keep making a mistake by not acting.
Yep.
So even if you do something and it doesn't work out the way you want it to, at least you have that knowledge then to apply for the next time you have that opportunity.
Couldn't agree more.
This is where I'm going to start feeling a little bit like the dude from the Actors Studio. Like, what kind of tree would you be?
Yeah.
We're going deep.
What's one thing that makes you most proud?
My team. Yeah, my team, and the growth that I see with them every day. We're talking a lot today. I mean, we've been on here for a half hour talking about my philosophies and me and how I think about things, but ultimately I can only be judged by my team. And removing barriers and allowing them to fail forward, like Stephanie was talking about, that's really my passion, is seeing somebody, where they were, whether it be yesterday or last year, to where they are today, and you see those light bulbs go off. That excites me. And that's how I think any leader should be judged, is the team around them, because you are nothing without them, right? You're just an individual and you're leading nothing. So that's how I like to be judged. That's what I'm most proud of. Professionally, of course, my wife would be probably none too thrilled if I didn't mention her in that, and obviously the loving relationship we have. But when it comes professionally to my team, that's what I'm most proud of, is the growth that I see in them every day.
So in building a team, what are some important traits that a leader can look for when they're hiring a new employee, which pretty much anybody who hires would say, oh my God, it's so hard to hire people. I think that's a question that everybody would love the answer to.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that I have all the answers, certainly, but it is challenging. And I believe the reason.
Hold on, we promoted it. We promoted this that you knew all the answers.
It is challenging, right, to find an individual that fits properly, because if you're hiring correctly, it's super easy if you just say anybody who walks through the door can be part of our organization. That makes it easy. But the challenging part is to say, okay, these are our core values as a company. Whether you are a frontline employee or CEO, you need to have these core values, because this is at the foundation of what our business stands for. And that kind of builds that bus, right? And then you find the right people to get on the bus. It's just which seat do they sit in. As long as they, follow those core values, then they are good to be on the bus. It's just where do they go? As far as hiring is concerned, that's the biggest piece, is just what are you looking for? Identify that. What are you looking for at the core of who an individual is? And then once you solve that and you have candidates in front of you, then you can look at experience and really get more into the nitty gritty. But until you pass, number one, which is do they fit the core values of the business, then you can't even talk about those other things, because they're never going to be a fit. And that doesn't make them a bad person by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that they fit with somebody else's core values. They just truly do. So I think that's where, the cool thing that has evolved over the last few months is this embracement of technology, to where, it used to be I have to schedule out an entire day worth of interviews because I want to have that face-to-face interaction. Now you can get on a webcam, do a podcast, do those things, and you can do that in rapid succession and easily find out what a person stands for by asking a few simple questions. Once you get past that, then ultimately it's up to what you're looking for in the market from an experience standpoint.
What are those questions? Those couple quick questions you can ask? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I can't give away all the secrets, right?
I was going to write them down to actually ask some people. So,
Adam, kind of going along, we were talking about solving issues once and for all. And one of the things that you mentioned that I think is really important in leadership that you've implemented pretty well in our interactions is when you identify an issue, the person isn't a bad person because it's an issue, whether it's in their department or something they've done. It's looking at it objectively, and that here's our issue as a business. How do you solve this as the individual?
Yeah.
So what are some techniques for, business owners out there or managers to, not put the blame on an individual, but, how do we identify issues and not identify people to solve them, but not say that they're the cause of it?
Yeah. So fantastic question, Anthony. There's two pieces of that, right? Because there are issues within the business that are truly tactical business maneuvers, and then there's issues that sometimes do involve people, right? I mean, those do become issues also. So as far as the people ones, that's a fairly simplistic, because it's, again, you go back to, do they fit our core values? And you have that conversation we call a right person, right seat. Are they the right person? Do they follow the core values? And are they in the right seat? If they have our core values, then they should be on the bus, so to speak. Are they in the right role? Right. And there are people issues within every organization. There's challenges. Some people, do they have the time capacity for it? And then with the people thing, I always do the mirror window exercise. Right. So what are they doing that they could potentially be doing better, or what are they challenged at? that's the mirror looking through into them. But what a lot of people forget about is the mirror and looking at yourself. Have I done everything I can as a leader to set them up for success? Have I removed the barriers? Have I given them the time? Have I done the things that I feel are necessary for them to be successful? And when you solve those things, you get the right people in the right seats on the bus, you can go anywhere with it. On the flip side of that, from a tactical standpoint, you never want to make it, if it's truly not a people thing, because that's in a different bucket and it's a business tactical issue, you have to embrace those and separate the person from it. Because if it was a person issue, then it'd be in that other bucket, but this is a business issue and you want to embrace those things. Now, EOS would teach you to find the core issue of that, because you can sit and talk for hours about these issues and go back and forth and stand on a soapbox. But until you find the core issue of what's driving that, and sometimes it's really difficult to even say, and it's almost embarrassing as a leader sometimes. But when you find that core issue, then you can have that open and honest dialogue about that and then solve it. And then the idea is to solve it once and for all. If you truly find the core issue, identify that and take the steps in which you need to solve that, you're never going to talk about it again, which means you're growing as an organization, you're growing as a leadership team, you're growing as a leader altogether.
Yeah.
So, and from, your experience here, you've been at a top 15 company, you've been at the number one power washing company in the United States. Are you saying that all businesses, no matter how good and successful, have issues?
Well, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not just, it's everything, right? It's not just business, it's sports teams, it's, personal life as well, because issues are just opportunities to get better. I mean, the issue comes with a negative connotation, but just tell me, how can we get better? How can our relationship get better, as a husband? How can our relationship get better as an organization? How can we go from good to great? Because good is the enemy of great. And you can't, if you're not growing, you're dying. Now, see, I'm throwing out a bunch of cliches. Yard for me, Todd, which is fine.
I got quarters, yeah.
But those are all really good things to understand, right? Like, that's those issues. I get fired up with them because my job as a leader is to solve issues, right? Bring them to me, because if not, then you're just lying to yourself. There's issues there. Find them. Let's identify them and let's solve them once and for all.
That's so great. I think, for people who think that this is only about business, which I sometimes have been at fault of thinking this, is that there are other people who we work with who use this in their personal life. I mean, the like setting goals and writing goals, like having your kids set goals. It's a whole nother topic, but
yes.
Don't think that this stuff is just for the owner, leader, president, manager of a business. It's for everyone. You could read Traction and probably start implementing it in your home life. So
yes, absolutely. And that goes with any one of those leadership or management books, right?
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, what role you play, if you strive for personal growth, then, if there's one thing you learn from that, then the time in which you spent was the investment that will pay off.
Right. It's great. So I had this idea even before we got going, and I thought, maybe I'll pull it out. But I don't think that we would get totally open and honest and vulnerable with like people watching that we don't know who are watching. But could we do kind of a mini level 10 here? And can I ask a couple of questions that would come from that?
Yeah, I'm interested in how we're going to deliver this.
Right. So I'm not necessarily going to give the whole spiel for each section. I would never deliver it as well as you do yet, because I'm not trained at it or well read at it. But we start off the meeting with a segue, which is an opportunity.
So basically the big thing is with a level 10 meeting, they call it a level 10 meeting because every meeting that you spend together should be a 10, right? You should earn a 10. And at the end of this, we rate it. so we can learn how to, again, to go from good to great, right? So every meeting starts out with a segue, which is good news personal, good news professional from the last 7 days since our meeting. And what that does is it helps bring in a human element to the meeting, and also helps us transition from working in the business to on the business, because it's extremely important for us as a leadership team to focus on top of the business for a little while. And the other piece on that is sticking to your time, right? Because we're all busy individuals. We have a lot on our calendar, and we need to maximize those 60, sometimes 90 minutes, depending on the type of meeting, together, because that 60 or 90 minutes should save us 4 or 5 hours a week in sideline meetings, and me going to you and then you going to them, and then not everybody not being on the same page. So we can do a segue, Todd. Is that kind of the idea? You wanted to go through that?
No, you know what? I think what you did is better, because I don't really want you to give your business best or personal best and try to figure out what you could actually give.
Totally fine. I run 9 of them in a day, so I have to come up with them on the fly anyway.
That was a great explanation. I mean, a business who doesn't read traction could still do something like that. It's on top of everything else, not a bad way to get to know each other a little bit better, right?
Of course. And the big thing there, again, is structure, right? Like, we have a structured agenda. It goes from the segue, then we talk about our scorecard. So our scorecard essentially is if there was, an owner on an island and a waiter brought him up my scorecard, they would know, and they would have a window on and be able to tell how the business is doing. That's kind of the filter in which you run a scorecard through. And if scorecard metrics are good, awesome, you give recognition where recognition's due. If they're off, you don't discuss them then, you drop them down as issues, right? We talked about issues. Those are great opportunities. You go from a scorecard, then you go into rocks, which are 90-day action items. They're the big, meaty things that have to happen for the business, the most important things in the next 90 days. They're typically projects or big KPIs that the business has to get this quarter to meet this year's goal, to meet that 10-year goal, right, that we talked about. Then you go into customer employee headlines to make sure to get a pulse on how everybody's doing in the organization. That's good or bad news about an employee or a customer. And then you go into to-dos from the prior meeting, because you have 7 days to accomplish these, and we want to make sure there's accountability amongst our peers. So to-dos are either to done or they're not. If they're not, typically we drop them down as issues because there's a barrier holding us back from completing those. Then we discuss issues. That's the big chunk of the meeting. The front part's very short because we want to get in and discuss those issues that are holding us back. You prioritize the ones that are most important to the business today. It's super easy to jump into the easy ones that we can solve with a snap of a finger. But until you prioritize the truly important ones, you're not doing right by the business, because you could just talk about those little ones all day and never get into the core. And then you conclude, recap to-dos, ask for cascading messages that you need to send through the organization, and rate it 1 to 10. How'd I do in a nutshell?
It was awesome. So when I had this idea and I had a few notes, in my head about this, I was gonna actually, I wasn't gonna have you give business best and personal best.
Yeah.
Is there an employee or customer headline that you'd like to share with anybody who ever watches this? And if not, it's okay.
Yeah. So I mean, here's a great. I'll tie both of them in together. We have a lot of customers calling in right now because we've celebrated our 20th year in business, and we've done, so many great things around the community that we're offering actually 20% off. So I would let everybody in the organization know that, right? And that now is the time to call in for Perfect Power Wash, to get your home wash, your concrete wash and seal, or your roof done. That would be my typical one for across the organization. We're really excited about that, to be able to even say that we can offer that discount, celebrate 20 years, 100,000 homes. It's a true milestone for the business.
Awesome. So, and here's a question. And I'm asking this for myself as well as everybody else. If you do have that long list of issues to discuss in an internal meeting,
yep.
Shouldn't you discuss and solve all of them, no matter how long it takes?
That would be that's not how you stick to your time frame on your meetings, because I know in marketing, certainly in sales, and even in operations, we have that arm of the business. Everybody likes to. The big thing is everybody needs to be heard, right, on your team. Now, whether we agree or disagree, that's totally fine. That's healthy conflict, but everybody needs to be heard, and in a short amount of time to make sure it's impactful, and to make sure everybody's heard on the team, so that when you walk out the door, you walk out as a unified front. It takes time, as it should, because you're talking about issues. It shouldn't just be, I know everything, do as I say, right? So you shouldn't solve all of those issues. If you don't have any issues, either you're not asking hard enough, you're not looking hard enough, or you're fooling yourself, right? You should have a laundry list of issues, whether they be short-term or long-term, but you should solve the ones that are most important. As long as you're solving the ones that are most important to the business, you're doing right by the business.
So if you don't get to them all,
Yeah.
do you just save them for the following week, or should the team take a look at those and say, hey, we can do something about these in the week before, like during the week until the next meeting, or do you save it for the next?
It's definitely situational. If there's something that we can't get to because of a time constraint, one, like, probably should be solving issues outside of those meetings also, and other departments, and allowing and delegating those issues, and allowing people to elevate from those, and letting go of the vine, and being okay and comfortable with other people solving issues. The other thing you can do is certainly do an offline meeting, I suppose, or just say, hey, my to-do is to either bring enough data or information for that issue, which will save us time next week, or anything along those lines. So if there's something that's pressing and it has to be solved inside of the next 7 days, don't hold the business back by failing to do so. But truth be told, if you are on the regimen of solving those issues every week, that's pretty rare. And even more so when you're solving the right issues at the department level or below, then rarely are you not able to get to the right issues, get to the core, and move to solve. Hope that answers what you're asking.
It absolutely does. I think if for anybody who wanted to know anything about leadership, and I would think that would be more interested in reading a few books and maybe thinking about implementing this system, or even self-implementing a little bit. So
Yeah.
All right, so that we have enough time to do what I like to do at the end, which is ask a lot of fun questions. Before we get to that part,
Fun in quotes.
fun for me at least to ask them. So, if someone wants to learn more about Perfect Power Wash, or even better, get a free quote in just minutes, and schedule and have Perfect Power Wash come to their home and take care of the siding and or roof and or concrete, what should they do?
Yeah, so I mean, the simplest thing you can go to learn more information about the importance of keeping your exterior and your biggest assets clean is just go to perfectpowerwash.com. You can certainly call one of our representatives at 860-888-860-WASH. And like I said, right now it's the best deal we've ever run. So we're really excited for that. But even beyond that, we usually have great specials and great deals. At the core of it, the real piece is protecting your biggest investment, which is your home, and bringing out the true professionals, the ones who have perfected the craft over 20 years, and be able to allow us to do that. And we would love the opportunity to do so.
I'm just going to be a little bit of an ad guy here and just say, for anybody who's watching this on YouTube sometime in the future, after sometime in 2020, the offer may have expired by then. So
Thank you.
I'm sure that there'll still be a nice offer for you, but just I just want to throw that out there as the advertising guide, little disclaimer.
Nice.
I appreciate that.
All right. So a couple of questions. Hopefully they'll be fun. I got a bunch to get through here. If you could trademark one word, what would it be?
Yeah, I get made fun of a lot for my sayings, so I don't know if it's words, but my favorite the one that everybody uses, and it's like an atomism, I guess, is drive it through the back of the garage. That's my favorite saying in the world, is drive it through the back of the garage, because there's hitting minimums and hitting goals, and then there's literally driving your car through the back of the garage and not stopping. So that's what I would trademark as like an atomism.
That's great. That is great.
I just got strong Ferris Bueller's Day Off vibes there.
Jason, make sure to like isolate that and use that for something. Tell us about your very first sale ever.
My first sale. Yeah, so there's like tactical sales, right? Where, I was a B2B sales rep, and I made my first big sale. I also think as a leader, you're always selling yourself also. So I would say my first sale, I was talking about literally the first day when I started at Verizon, I was actually working retail. My first day out of training, I had one of the biggest sales in the district. The first day, which was like it was a lot of luck. Right, I was nervous and sweating and sweaty palms, and my district manager, which was like a huge deal at the time, called me and congratulated me, and I was just on cloud nine, right? And that's really cool to look back on, because it was that positive reinforcement, that recognition where, I still try to do those things on somebody's first day or their first sale. I'll come down when I hear, we have gongs and bells for guys to have a little bit of fun down in the call center, and I'll come down and say, hey man, nice work. That's one of the first of many. So that's my first sale.
Awesome. All right. So a little quick rundown. You're a huge sports fan. You're a huge Cleveland sports fan.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite Cleveland Browns player ever?
Now, keep in mind, I'm 31, so I have a very short list to choose from. I'm actually going to say Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas is that silent leader. I wish he was, put in a little bit of a better situation, but at the same time, the dude was, Hall of Famer, all-time great.
Awesome. We love him here too, of course. Favorite Cleveland Indians player ever?
Now that's hard. That's different. I would say my favorite. It's a toss between Manny Ramirez and Omar Vizquel. Very close.
Nice.
Very close.
Yeah, two of the most fun guys ever. And this will be interesting. Favorite Cleveland Cavaliers player ever?
Okay, so I'm from Barberton, which is about 5 minutes south of Akron. So it's definitely LeBron, without question or hesitation.
All right, I'm throwing this one in.
Perfect Power Wash has washed LeBron's house before, just as a little plug there.
Nice.
I went out and quoted it, and I was trying to be cool about it, but that was a good one. That was a fun one.
Nice. Favorite Ohio State Buckeye ever? And I'm not specifying sport, so I guess.
Well, it's going to be football for me when it comes to that. Wow, that's a good one there. I want to say, so player, not coach, right? It would be.
Okay.
I really loved Maurice Clarett. And I'm going to tell you why. I have a specific example. I know I'm long-winded, but in the national championship, when the ball was intercepted and he had the tenacity to make one of the best football plays that I've personally ever seen, especially live, to run, sprint down the field and bring the ball back to the offense, that was unbelievable. Unbelievable tenacity.
Absolutely.
He was a stud too. He was great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Favorite TV show? Probably don't even watch TV.
I try. My favorite TV show all time.
Yeah, all time.
All time.
Or currently.
Yeah, we'll say How I Met Your Mother. There, well, that's kind of a in-betweener. I love the Breaking Bads. I love The Wire for sure, Sopranos. But How I Met Your Mother is one that I can sit down and watch just over and over again.
That's great. Total other thing. Did you watch Hunters?
No.
I was going to ask if you knew who this one guy was in there, but we'll have to talk about that another time.
Sweet.
I had no idea. Favorite musical act?
Depends on the mood I'm in. I guess I was going. I'd say some classic rock. I grew up listening to Neil Young. My dad was a big Neil Young fan, so I definitely love Neil Young. I would probably say somewhere in the '90s grunge though, with either Pearl Jam or Alice in Chains.
Great. Do you have a favorite podcast, whether it's business or entertainment?
So I try to unplug from time to time, but I like to listen to the Joe Rogan Experience. That's
Okay.
my favorite podcast.
And I know that you've been playing a lot of different sports than the traditional sports that you named earlier that you played.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite sport to play, and then
Golf.
a favorite sport to watch?
Yeah, golf for sure to play. I can't quite get 18 of my buddies together to play a game of baseball anymore, so I'll settle for a couple rounds of golf. I love it. I didn't pick it up till I went to college, so ever since then I fell in love with it. And then to watch is football, for sure.
Well, I know we're both, and all of us probably hoping that we get to watch that this fall.
Yep.
Favorite restaurant?
I like Ken Stewart's Lodge down in Bath. They just every time it's been an amazing experience.
Yeah, it's great. If you could do anything else as a career, what would it be?
Nothing. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
I would have guessed that would be the answer. All right. There's really only two left. And I'm going to ask what should be the last one first, and then another one after that is,
Yep, throw me off. You bring it.
what else should I be asking you?
See? Okay. Yeah, that's my favorite question. I like to ask it at the end of everything, and that's it. And sometimes I even overuse it, but I think it's a fantastic one. What you should be asking me? It was a great conversation about how I view leadership, and again, that's for me. It's all about my team, the individuals around me, and them growing and succeeding. You know, when somebody's in a rut or challenging, you know, they're in a challenge, I just say, hey, be 1% better tomorrow than you were today. If you were literally 1% better every single day, in a little over 3 months, you're twice as good as you were. I mean, if you start doing that math, like that's where you'll start getting that flywheel started. That's the big piece for me is tomorrow I wake up with a mission. I wake up ready to attack the day, and I have to challenge myself to be better than I was yesterday because I owe it to my team. I owe it to my team to do that for them.
Awesome. All right. I move to conclude. How do you score the huddle? How do you rate this week's huddle?
Me personally?
Yeah.
So that'd be scoring myself, which I typically wouldn't want to do. I'd like to score.
No. The whole huddle. You could be scoring me for all I know.
Okay, well, I give it a 10. I give it a 10 because I love the interactions that I always have with Mean Joe. Mean Joe Advertising, it's typically always a 10 for me. And getting down and spending the time with you guys, I truly appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, for being a good sport and answering all the questions and answering them so well so that anybody who ever watches this could really actually garner, I think, some information, some resources, some actionable items, some to-dos. They could have an entirely new vocabulary by the end of watching this. They could have all kinds of like motivational signs they could paint around their house, and I just think that everybody or their office, house, whatever, that there's a lot could be learned by watching this. So thank you so much for being here. I don't say that just because we have to have a meeting together tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
I really appreciate the opportunity, the invitation, and even more so appreciate the relationship that we've built between Perfect Power Wash and me and Joe. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Adam. We really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.